Good evening. I'm so sorry that I'm running a few minutes late. I am struggling to download some video that I need for this little talk. So let's hope and pray. It is supposedly working on it now. Hopefully, we're able to download that video so that I can share it with you. If not, the show must go on, as they say. So we're just going to jump in and continue our talk. I'm going to show you the video that I do have. Okay, it looks like something else has in fact downloaded. So tonight we are going to talk a little bit about a Bible story. And for those of you all who are not Christian or you're not familiar with this story in the Bible, the reason why I wanted to talk about it tonight is because this particular story has been playing out in our modern day world probably for the last 50 or 60 years. And it has been ramping up. This story has been ramping up, and it has been prophesied through this story how all of this is going to end. So if anything, it is a tale that I believe everyone should be mindful of. Like, it's a cautionary tale, right? When we think about this story, and especially how this story ends, this is very much a cautionary tale. All right, so I'm going to pull this extra video up. There we go.
It's enjoyable.
Okay. All right, not yet. And I'm going to try to download this other video too while I'm talking. But I don't know why my computer is running extremely slow tonight. Now, remember, I've already given you all the heads up that this whole going live is new to me. And so it's going to be really clunky. It's going to be really, odd at first because I'm still getting my footing. I'm still learning about StreamYard, and I've had, lots of people help me. Dr. L has been very crucial in teaching me all of the back end of StreamYard. But if I'm being honest, it's probably going to take about a month or two before I get really proficient in it. So I just want you to be patient. I want you to hang in there with me and be patient. I've been lining up some guests for you and just some different topics that I want us to discuss. But for those of you who are not Christian, I just want you to kind of hear this story and ask yourself, what does the story remind you of? Right? There are a lot of things, stories and parables that happen in the Bible that they're basically prophecy. They're basically telling us what's going to continue in the world, even in our modern day world. And so I want you to ask yourself, wow, what does this story remind me of? This is like deja vu listening to this story. And this particular story is going to be very, very familiar. So I've been doing some research on this. I had read this story many, many years ago when I was a young person, reading the Bible. And here recently with the talk of the Jezebel spirit. So we've been talking about that over the last 5-10 years, maybe in my space. And that's what kind of led me back to rereading this story and watching video about this story, because we're seeing everything in this story is playing out in 2026, right? So this is the story of King Ahab and Queen Jezebel. And you all have heard of the Jezebel spirit, right? We have used that term before, the Jezebel spirit. So we're going to unpack that. There is also a spirit of Ahab that we're seeing fall on a lot of people, and predominantly men. And we're seeing the spirit of Jezebel that falls on predominantly women. But here's what's interesting. Either one of these spirits can be on a male or a female, but we do predominantly see the Jezebel spirit in women, and we see the Ahab spirit in men, but it can be either sex, either gender. All right. So I'm going to try to do this right this time. I'm actually going to just say hello to a couple of people who are coming in. Let's see. H Muslima 9, excited for this one. I appreciate you, Anita. Good evening. Thank you so much. All right. Blue _Sapphire3. Good evening, Anita in chat. Thank you so much. Okay. Miss Independent. Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I have been doing chores, but I'm here. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. And we have I Am the Real Media 1006. Excited to unpack this. All right. Thank you. Miss Independent says, thank you for doing a live, Miss Anita. So it is my intention to go live every Sunday night, and it will be at 7:00 p.m. This particular Sunday, it's at 8:00 p.m. because we normally will have dinner with my mother. So probably on the Sundays where we have dinner with my mother, it probably will be 7:30, 8:00. But when I don't, I will be here promptly at 7. Okay. Thank you so much to everyone who is joining, everyone who is watching. So let's talk about this story. And so this is an interesting story from the Bible. King Ahab, he is the 7th king of northern Israel. And while he was a very powerful ruler, he was characterized as being very weak and very passive. He allowed himself to be urged on to do evil by his wife. His wife is Queen Jezebel, a Phoenician princess, the daughter of King Ethbaal of Sidon. She was a devout worshiper of Baal, a nature god, and introduced this pagan worship to Israel. So at this time, Yahweh, another name for our Lord, our God, was the God of Israel. But these other inhabitants, these other kings and queens and rulers would come in and they would introduce idolatry. And idolatry is simply making an idol out of something that isn't God. It's a false God, right? So they would make these golden calves and these temples and these different things and worship these different gods. But we know our God is a jealous God. So he does not want us worshiping any other God but him. Okay. So Jezebel is wicked. Like she is a haughty, prideful, wicked woman. And she, in my humble opinion, exemplifies the spirit of feminism. Okay. So she believes that she is better than her husband. She believes she doesn't just stand beside him. She believes she is better than him, right? She believes she's better than her husband. And so even though her husband is king, it is really Jezebel that is ruling the land. It's Jezebel that is torturing and killing God's prophets. It is Jezebel that is doing all of these wicked acts. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that Jezebel spirit works. Okay. So I've got a video that I am going to show you. And let me see if I got the right one.
Enjoyable, except for the sexual relationship.
All right. Okay. I think it's might be this one.
Sexual relationship. That's why.
Oh, that's the same one. Hold on one second. If I don't have it, okay, here we go. I was going to say, because I'm trying to download all of these videos. I don't know what is going on. These technical difficulties. All right, let's try this one.
But what happens is domineering, overbearing, highly emotional, manipulative, controlling, seductive, and sensual. What happens then is the Ahab, he tolerates so that she dominates. And the way this works practically is, let me just say something to the single men. Single men, our world is filled with these women. And let me say this, if you're a guy who's a Christian, you're like, I like to help people. I like to rescue people. I like to see people get delivered. Be careful. A Jezebel doesn't want you to save her. She wants to drown you. If you're a lifeguard saying, I'm going to go save the princess.
Oh, I don't know what happened. Hold on. Okay.
Let me say this to you single
Sorry.
men, you young men. Sometimes these women, they're attractive, they're aggressive. Okay? We live in a weird day. When I was young, you had to work for a woman to sleep with you. You men who are young today, you have to work not to sleep with those women. Men have now got to be on defense if you love Jesus. Like, I'm not trying to have sex with everybody. I want to get married and have a family. These women are very powerful, and they're very present, and they're very persistent in our culture. These are the gals that'll pursue you, they'll flirt with you, they'll sleep with you, they'll seduce you, they'll initiate with you. And let me tell you, gentlemen, it's all about control. It's all about her taking away your authority to lead, your anointing from God, and the destiny that God has for you. Most of the men that I know who are married to a Jezebel, it started with a dating relationship where she was aggressive, seductive, sensual, enjoyable, and then deadly. And you're not looking for a good time. You're looking for a good wife. And you're looking for a good wife with whom you can leave a good legacy. Be careful. Be careful. Lastly, a Jezebel spirit in a female knows that they are in a strategic position, because if they attack a man, he's in a lose-lose scenario. If he goes Ahab and takes it, he loses. If he pushes back, she says he's domineering, overbearing, unloving, controlling, hurt her feelings, and she's a victim, and he's a Jezebel, and he loses. The key in the story is this: Jezebel, controlling, aggressive; Ahab, passive, tolerant; Elijah, assertive, godly. The only way to overcome being an Ahab or dealing with a Jezebel is by the power of the Holy Spirit, like Elijah. He's willing to say no to Jezebel. He's willing to say no to Ahab. Ahab wants Elijah to tolerate so that she also will dominate, and he says no.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about some of the traits of the Jezebel spirit. What's important to note, and this is what I continue to stress to men, is that the Jezebel spirit, she will use your Achilles heel. She will use your sexuality against you. And so men don't understand that this idea of wanting to get sex quickly and wanting to get sexual access quickly, that is actually very dangerous. That is actually welcoming the Jezebel spirit. And so that's why I'm always telling men, and even the men that I coach and that I counsel, take your time. Take your time when it comes to sex and being sexual, right? You want to see what else is there. You want to see who this woman is, right? But if you are having sex on the first night, in the first week, in the first month, the women that are giving you easy access to sex, they are the Jezebel spirit, because that's what they use to manipulate you. That's what they use to hook you. So you have to understand that. I'm always telling men, having easy access to sex is not the flex that you think it is. It is inviting that spirit, that manipulative spirit, into you. Okay, so take your time. But I do tell men, a woman who does not give access to her body easily, that's a good woman. That's what you should look for. Okay, so here are some of the traits of the female Jezebel. All right, very similar. This is what I noticed about this. It is very similar to narcissism. So whether it is covert or overt narcissism, a lot of these traits are very, very similar. So things like self-importance. And this is the interesting one that I was like, wow, this is fascinating, because here we are in 2026, and this perfectly explains what's happening. So the preoccupation with fantasy or delusion. And we have seen this. We have noticed women online that have these either delusional standards, these unrealistic standards. I thought that was really interesting. So feeling superior, we see this a lot in feminism. So Miss Independent says a lot of feminism has really turned society upside down in the name of rights and equality. Okay. And what's interesting about it isn't even true equality, right? There are still a lot of things that men bear the weight of that women still don't bear the weight of. It's not true equality. But it's really interesting how, and I've always said this, that a lot of women in their quest to be equal to men, they will take the worst parts of men, and that is what they will emulate. Okay, so back to our list. Needs excessive admiration and validation. And we are seeing this online. We are seeing women who are obsessed with the likes and the comments. They're obsessed with the attention that posting things online can bring. Now, this is really interesting. When we were talking tonight at dinner, my son made a comment and he said, you know, why would someone who's married, right? He said, I don't understand. Why would someone who's married even want to be online? Why would they even be on social media? And I explained to him that social media has been causing a lot of problems in people's relationships. People come into my office all the time, and one or both of them are excessively on social media. They're posting things on social media. They're meeting people on social media. And so he was perplexed. Like, well, if you're married, if you already have a wife, if you already have a husband, what are you on social media for? So yeah, that I wish people felt that way, right? Like, I have a husband, I have a wife, I have a family. Why would I spend my time on social media? So that didn't compute to him, which I thought was interesting. And by the way, my son doesn't have any social media. All right, we got a comment that says omnipo_b_9949 says, good evening, Anita. I've been watching your videos for a few months now. I'm married with children for 15 years, and I find you and your counseling very insightful. Thank you for your passion. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Miss Independent, thank you so much for your $9.99. Thanks for what you do. Thank you. All right, good evening, High Vibe. She says, greetings. Yes, thank you. And then Miss Independent says, the excess desire, fake validation from others is just a trashy trait and a red flag. I agree. But isn't that interesting that that is one of the signs? Here's another one. They can be exploitative. They take advantage of others. So they use others. And how many times have we seen women online taking deposits for dates, saying they need money to give out their phone number, needing to be CashApped money for hair and nails? Like, this is an exploitative spirit, right? Lack sympathy. So they may struggle to put themselves in the place of others. They can be envious and jealous. Now, some women may know what this is about. If you've ever had a friend who exhibited this Jezebel spirit, they are envious and jealous by nature, okay? They can be arrogant and haughty. This is the one that I have been calling out more and more. Women who are very prideful, who are very haughty, who are very arrogant, okay? Now, here's something to know about these people is they have a fragile self-esteem. It's always interesting to me when people think that people with narcissism or this Jezebel spirit, oh, you know, they're so confident and they're so, you know, they have such high self-esteem. They don't. They really don't. These people have fragile self-esteem because remember, healthy self-esteem, it isn't loud, it isn't boisterous, it doesn't have to be all over the internet. Like people who genuinely like and love themselves, they don't need to be loud and proud and all over social media. They don't need to post everything they do or everywhere they go. So to me, that's the first sign. I've often told even women when they're, vetting a man, that if a man has to beat his chest and has to, proclaim that he's alpha and post all this stuff and post all of his cars and his jewelry and his trips, I mean, that screams of insecurity. Okay, so I want you to remember that. That is not a very secure man. A man with high self-esteem, it's like I find out what he has as time goes on. That's not something I should see in his feed. And I feel that way about women too. Women who, post their big Valentine's thing and all, like, really, who are you trying to impress? And as I've always said to you all, I don't need it to be posted on social media to know that it happened. Like, I don't, right? There are lots of things I experience in my life that never get posted to social media, that I never talk about, because I know it happened. Like, I have a brain, I have a memory, I know it happened. Or I've taken pictures and I've shared those pictures with the people who were there. I don't need to share it with the entire world to believe that it happened. And then the last one that I believe all women need to be very careful with, because we all have this ability, but we have to be very careful to not succumb to this. And it's manipulative. Okay. The Jezebel spirit is manipulative. It will encourage you to do things for its best interest, right? There's a difference between being influential and being manipulative. Being influential as a woman is saying, hey, I want to suggest something that could benefit all of us. I want to suggest something that would be helpful to both of us. I want to suggest something that is good and positive and healthy. What do you think about that? That's influence. But manipulation, on the other hand, it says, you know what? I don't want him to go on that guy's trip. You know what? I want him to buy me this. I want him to take me here. I want to do this. There's something I want to get out of this. And I am going to use some manipulation tactics to do it. We need to be very mindful of that. And here's the funny thing, because society has kind of trained women, that manipulation is their tool of choice, right? Society has trained us that, that's kind of how we do things. We manipulate people. And so we have to be really careful about that sometimes we'll find ourselves doing it and we don't even realize we're doing it. Okay. Let's see. G43X says, listening while doing homework. Thank you so much. Escort strategies. Okay. All right. Yes, they keep people around for purposes and stimulus, not for actual companionship to build a life. Right. And can I be honest? Okay. How y'all feel about this is how you feel about it. So women who collect men in the friend zone, and I don't mean friends. To me, the friend zone and having male friends, those are two totally different things. I don't mean having friends. I mean collecting men who what the red pill would call beta male orbiters. So you're not interested in these men romantically. You're not interested in these men sexually, but you harness energy from these men, whether it's through favors, whether it's, doing things for you and through favors, whether it's through validation and attention, right? So you have a whole stable of these men. So women who have a stable of beta male orbiters or these friend zoned men, those women are acting in that Jezebel spirit, right? Because they're just keeping those men there just for their own benefit. They're keeping those men around for their own purpose. the relationship isn't truly reciprocal. So you do have to be mindful about that. But as I've stated before, the friend zone and a man that I am a friend of, those are two totally different things. To me, friendship is reciprocal. We are beneficial to one another. No one is using anyone. Okay. It is not that. I am not using this man to hang up the TV or to do a bunch of favors. No, he is my genuine friend. I like him. He likes me. We bring value to each other's lives, but there is no like using. Okay. And we have an understanding. We have an understanding that it isn't romantic or sexual. And we both agree to that. Okay. It's not romantic. It's not sexual. But friend zones, these are men that these women know, like them, want them. These women are aware that these men want them that way. And so they use that. They use that information like, okay, if he wants to be with me one day, I'll get him to do this and I'll get him to pay for that and I'll get him to buy this. And that is very manipulative. Those women are operating in the Jezebel spirit. Okay. Next comment is from Miss Independence. She says, these types of women also offer nothing after the superficial and bring nothing to the table. Correct. Correct. Because there is no depth. There's no depth there. Okay. I can't pronounce UFO kamikaze. Okay. One, she says true. All right. Yes, everything does not have to be televised. Most of my life is not. And what's so funny is that I have people in my life who feel like I'm, I guess, overly transparent. They're like, man, you're really transparent. And I'm like, really? Because there's so much more to my life that I don't share. So I find that interesting. Okay. High Vibe says, so true. Posting vacation photos, meals, shopping, daily thoughts, etc. is just too much. I've unfollowed people with this behavior. Me as well. Me as well. Because like, okay, like I'm not, and again, I want you to see it as this tactic to harvest energy, to harvest attention and validation and reassurance, right? These people, that is what they run on. They don't know how to do that internally. So that's a big sign. Someone who needs the energy of other people constantly. They don't know how to manufacture that energy internally. That is a big sign of the Jezebel spirit. Okay. Let's see. Miss Independent says it's also important to get real about the fact that these social media personalities are actually lonely fakers. They don't have actual interpersonal relationships. They get short-term non-commitment. So there you go. Okay. She says beta male orbiters were the main reason my first son's mom and I couldn't move forward towards marriage because of the orbiters she refused to part with. Yes. Yes. And a lot of women, and that's why I always tell men, that's a big red flag. It's one thing for a woman to tell you, hey, this man is my friend. They've been my friend from college. I have great boundaries with this person. If ever, this made you uncomfortable, please let me know. And I'm willing to do whatever needs to be done to make you comfortable. But a lot of these men that I'm talking about, they're not genuine friends. They are men that are interested in the woman. So you have to know the difference. It's one thing to have a dinner party and invite a male friend and their wife or girlfriend. Your person meets them and sees who that person is, and everything's above board. That's a totally different thing. Friends and friend zone is different. Okay. I believe that. A lot of people, they don't agree with that. But to me, I don't have any men in the friend zone. There are no men in my friend zone that are interested in me. And yet I don't really want them, but I just keep them in my phone. I text them here or there, or I talk to them on the phone. Why? What is the purpose of that? And just understand, gentlemen, that if a woman is serious, now this is one way for you to know that a woman is serious about commitment, about a real relationship, and about marriage. She does not have anybody in the friend zone. That's how you know. There are no exes and there are no beta male orbiters in her friend zone. So she can leave her phone up, she can leave her ringer on. No weird text messages are coming through. Like, that's how you know that she's really serious about doing something real, is there's no weird stuff going on. Okay. So those are some of the traits of the Jezebel spirit. Now, again, the gentleman who was speaking in the clip, his name is Pastor Mark Driscoll. He preaches at Trinity Church in Arizona. He did several sermons on the Ahab spirit and the Jezebel spirit. So I'm going to show some more clips from him, but he dove very deeply into this. He did not make the connection to feminism, because I think this particular sermon might be 3 or 4 years old. But I definitely have made the connection to feminism. I think the Jezebel spirit is alive and well, and it has reared its ugly head over the last 60, 70 years, and especially here recently. So think about the gods that she was worshiping and she was sacrificing to. And so we have talked about, sacrificing of children, sacrificing through abortion, right? This is all a part of that spirit, is that, here's the other thing he said about the Jezebel spirit is they hate male authority. That is the biggest sign. If a woman hates male authority, and I've already told you guys, I told you this years ago where I told you the buzzwords. If she's using the buzzwords, if she's using patriarchy, right? What's another buzzword? There's so many of them, but just kind of steer clear if that woman is, very liberal, very left-wing liberal. She's using all of the buzzwords. She supports the alphabet community, the trans community, abortion, like it's not the tattoos, the piercings. Like, now, if I can be honest, men have it easier than ever to spot these women. You should be glad that these women are marking themselves up and coloring their hair and piercing their face, because now, and can we be honest, most men have even told me, like, I can't tell when a woman likes me. Like, I can't tell a good woman from a bad woman. Okay, it's blatant. It's so blatant now. You can't miss it. So I want men to be happy about that, that now you can see very clearly, right? The ones who are loud and proud about sexual promiscuity, about hookup culture, the ones who are all these different pansexual and queer, it's loud and proud. So now to steer clear of those women. Now here, there are some women that are kind of in the middle that might be harder to spot. But again, you want to make sure that she has a respect for men and male authority. Okay. So even saying something as simple as, hey, can you call me when you get home just to let me know you made it there? Or, hey, I'm going to call you in about 20 minutes just to make sure you made it home. Something as simple as that can trigger the Jezebel spirit. I kid you not. Just saying, I just want to make sure you got, don't tell me what to do. Don't do that. Like, I kid you not. Something as simple as that. Something as simple as chivalry. Something as simple as, paying the bill and you're not feeling any appreciation, right? That entitled spirit. And we see that a lot. We see the entitlement a lot. But there are ways for the guys to no, okay, no, that's I probably don't want to go there. Okay. So to me, it's easy to spot. I don't understand how men can't spot it. Good evening, October 3074. Thank you so much. Okay. She says, how much did I miss? So we've been on since 8:03. She said, you trying to keep tabs on me. Okay. But the spirit is alive and well. And here's the thing to know about women. And this goes all the way back to Genesis, right? When we're talking about the fall, when we're talking about, Eve's desire, right? It was her desire to eat from the tree of good and evil, right? To eat from the tree of knowledge. It was her desire to know as much as God. And it's that spirit. It's that spirit that women have to fight every day. I'm constantly telling women, you have to fight that prideful, haughty spirit every single day, that desire to want to be like God or to want to know what God knows. Or when we think about the curse that God put on Eve that says you'll want to rule over your husband, right? But you will not be able to. So that desire has been in us since the fall, where we want to be superior. We want to rule over our husband. And we have to be mindful of that you know what? I am called to respect my husband, right? The Bible calls you to respect your husband. It doesn't say love. It tells the husband to love you because he knew that was going to be difficult for the husband, like to love his wife like his own body. But he also knew that it was going to be difficult for the wife to respect her husband. Okay. So I practice this every day. I practice and pray on the spirit of humility. And because I am submitted to God. I am submitted to my husband when he comes along. When I was married, I was submitted to my husband. I am submitted to my father. I am submitted to the men in my family. I am submitted. And think about it, ladies. We're all going to submit. You're going to submit to someone on your job. You're going to submit to that police officer who pulls you over. You are going to submit. So I want you to be good at it. I want you to be so, so good at submitting. Okay. So that you have no problem submitting to your husband. Okay. All right. G43X says, walking away is hard for men. I agree, but it's something that they're learning to do. That's something that is happening. That's a good thing. I'm telling you, the fact that men are waking up to their own worth and value, the fact that they are learning how to say no to women, that's a good thing. That's the first step in turning a lot of this around. Men have, as y'all like to say, need to stop simping, right? And we're going to talk about the Ahab spirit. We're going to talk about that next. But men have got to stand up. They have to be strong, okay? And they have to be able to be a leader, be the head of their home. They have to be a good head of their home. And a part of that is saying no. Okay? He says our date frequency is often low. Oh boy. All right. Crazy work how they are entitled to chivalry while literally looking a man in his eyes and claiming the two are equal. Well, that's the thing I always say to the women is you can't be special and be equal. Okay. And remember, there is no equality in romantic relationships. That's the hardest thing for people to accept. In romantic relationships between men and women, there is no equality. We are equal in value, but we are different by nature. We have different roles. We have different things that we will do, but there is no equality. Okay, there is equity. We want to provide something that is fair, but it will never be the same. And we need to come to terms with that. We need to accept that. Okay. She'll accuse him of trying to keep tabs on him because he asked her to let him know she got home in safely. Yeah, women today say everything a man does is controlling. That's it. Oh, you're controlling. Can you believe he said that, girl? He's trying to control me. But here's the truth. I tell the men, if you get any pushback on any of these basic things that make you a decent man, just walk away. Just walk away. If you get any pushback on that, just know that that is not your person. Okay? It really is that simple. Miss Independent says, I'm single and I've been actually given the suggestion to behave that way to meet someone. She says, no. Okay. I'd love to know more about that, but we have to submit. We have to submit to someone. So what is the difference? He said, your advice to women is futile. This is Manosphere. Hello Frame says, your advice to women is futile. Laws and culture have to change for subsequent generations. I agree that it's probably not going to happen in my generation. Can I be honest? It's probably not going to happen in my generation or my lifetime, right? I pray that it happens in my children's generation. I pray that it happens in my children's lifetime. I'm doing what I'm doing for the future. I'm not doing it for now. I'm not doing it for me. I actually care about the people coming behind me. So that is why I'm doing it. It isn't futile, right? If we're talking about today, if we're talking about tomorrow or next week, but I don't do anything just for a temporary gratification. Everything I do is putting things in place for the future. And I have 3 children. So I hope to make a mark so that the future is different. That is my hope. That's why I do what I do. Okay. Omnipo_B_9949. So true, Anita. I've always felt that the vast majority of people with tattoos get them to show them. And the more sensitive the location of the tattoo really says a lot. Yeah. I just, like I said, I want y'all to be careful. Okay. Because people who are covered in tattoos, I've done a video about it where it is directly related to trauma. It is directly related to negative emotions. Rarely are people feeling great and they skip off and get a tattoo. A lot of people get tattoos because they're feeling bad. Something has happened. They've gone through a breakup. They've had something traumatic happen. So I want you to be mindful of that. People are walking around wearing their trauma. And if you overlook that, then that's an error on your part. Okay. He said it's Manosphere Hall of Fame says it's about laws, not about anything else. And maybe the laws will change. That is my hope. It is my hope that the laws will change in the next 20 years. We've already seen the laws change in certain states when it comes to custody of the children. See, that's already happened. We have 50-50 custody automatic. Who knows? Maybe no fault divorce will be eradicated, or, we just don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen. All right. Miss Independent says men and women need to stop leading with shallowness, looks, car, money, etc., and actually develop character. Yeah, for sure. I agree with you about that. And Pierre G, 1974, why do some women confuse concern with controlling? That's a whole trope, though. But they are hypersensitive. They have a problem with healthy masculinity and male authority. These women have a problem with male authority. And so, as a wise man once told me, I can't be responsible for something that I have no authority over. So women want men to be responsible for them, but they don't want those men to have authority over them. And that doesn't make sense, right? If a man marries me, if he gives me his last name, if he's now responsible for me, he should have authority over me. He should, his opinion should. Oh, I don't know what happened, y'all. Something weird happened. Like I said, I'm having technical difficulties tonight. So yes, To me, that is normal and healthy. It's weird to me that women feel that way, that they say, oh, he shouldn't have any authority, but you want him to be responsible, right? That doesn't make sense. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Ahab spirit. So I'm also seeing this running rampant all over the world, all over society. We're going to talk a little bit about King Ahab. So a lot of the reason why Queen Jezebel was able to do all of these horrible things, I mean, she killed hundreds of God's prophets, and she had it out for Elijah. And Elijah was a good man. He was a prophet of God. He did a lot of miracles. She had it out for him. And it's because Elijah was a healthy masculine man. He told it like it was. He told the truth. He was God's man. He never backed down from that. And she had it out for him. And at one point in this story, Elijah, he asked God to put a curse on the land. It did not rain for 3 years because Israel had been worshiping all of these false gods. So in his mind's eye, okay, you don't believe in God, you don't believe in Yahweh. Okay. He called upon this curse. It did not rain for 3 years. And the people, all the animals died, the crops died, the people grew despondent. And they were like, okay, maybe God is real. Like, yeah, maybe God is real, because these false gods, we've been praying to them for 3 years and it hasn't rained. But the reason why Jezebel was able to rule the land and to do all of these wicked things is because of her husband, Ahab. And so he was the original simp. Ahab was the original simp. He was passive. He was spoiled. I wrote down some of his qualities too. He was fearful. He believed he was a victim. He wanted to be coddled. He was very emotional. He avoided headship and leadership, right? He did not want to take responsibility. He hated conflict. He hated conflict. And the way he communicated was very covert, okay? He refused to lead. And so he allowed his wife, in her rage, in her emotions, to wreak havoc on Israel. And of course, in the end of this story, they both get what's coming to them. But, here's what I know for certain, and this is what I'm always telling men, is you will answer for how your home is being run, right? God holds you responsible for how your home is being run. Okay, I'm going to get to some of these comments. Okay, for clarification, if equality doesn't exist in relationships, then what does it mean to be evenly yoked? Is that equality in spirituality or faith? So that is equality as far as your belief and your faith, your values, right? So we are both serving God, submitting to God. Yes, there is equality, but it's in the faith. But in the romantic relationship, even God knows that he calls men to do things differently than women. So among the sexes, among the gender, there is equity. There is no equality. There is equality in the faith. And that's just like when God says in the scripture, that he treats all men the same. He doesn't favor one over the other. Right. So sometimes I have to tell people, yes, I consider myself to be Christian first. That's before being Black. That's before being a woman. I am submitted to God. That is my identity, especially now. Right. All that other stuff in my mind doesn't matter. Once I became God's child, like his truly submitted child, all that other stuff doesn't matter. So in that regard, in the faith, we are equal, right? So whether someone's sitting here and they're white or they're Indian or they're Asian or they're a man or, whatever, doesn't matter if they're rich, doesn't matter if they're poor. God sees all of his kids the same, especially those who are submitted to him, who are obedient to him. We are all the same. However, romantic relationship, sex, gender, it's equity. That's what we're striving for. He said, wow, thanks for that insight about tattoos. I can definitely see the trauma tattoo connection now. Yeah, I'm telling you, there's a connection. And there's studies being done on it right now. October 3074 says, I love when my man acts like he gives a damn. Me too, because what would be the point? You know, if I leave and it's dark out and you don't even make sure I get home, like that's crazy. The demand of a pricey first date from social media influencers. Okay, sorry, y'all. And random women has gotten out of hand. It's the Jezebel spirit. It's the spirit. And again, I want people to stop talking about it. I just want people to just avoid it, right? We don't need to talk about it. We don't need to make videos about it. We don't need to talk about it. Just don't do it. Like for the men, just don't do it. Just don't entertain it, right? Women are going to keep making those dumb videos, and I want you to ignore it because you're just not going to do it. You're not going to feed into it. Okay, this must be the first year. Okay. Okay, the original simp, laughing my A off. I need to know more about him. Okay. So we're going to talk about the Ahab spirit. He is the original simp because y'all love that word. I don't use that word, but Ahab is the original simp. This is where the simp spirit came from. All right. So I'm going to show a video by Pastor Mark, and I hope it's the right video, y'all, but it's about Ahab. Okay. Hold on one second.
Okay. There are certain men, they run drug trafficking and human trafficking and cartels and prostitution. And I'm telling you right now, male Jezebels have taken over the southern border of Arizona. Yes, sir. And the problem is because we have an Ahab. What does it look like to have a female Jezebel? Well, it's probably a little clearer from my talk.
All right, not that one. Hold on. Let me see if it's this one.
Avoid difficult decisions. You'll see in the storyline of Ahab, every time there's a tough decision, he defers. Well, what do you think? What do you want? Or he just gets frozen and paralyzed. He doesn't say anything, and he knows eventually his wife will do all the talking. It's okay to be a quiet guy, but not a silent guy. Even a quiet guy at some point has got to find his voice, and he's got to lead, and he's got to speak, and he's got to make decisions. What happens over and over in the storyline of Ahab and Jezebel, every time there's a difficult decision, she makes it. Well, what kind of church are we going to open? Honey, what kind of church do you want to have? Well, are we going to show up to Mount Carmel and send the false prophets? Well, honey, what do you think? Well, are we going to let Naboth say no to the land deal, or are we going to kill him and steal it? Well, honey, you make the decision. Over and over and over, she makes all and here's why Ahabs do this. If it goes well, they benefit. If it goes poorly, they can blame somebody else. It's passivity, it's indifference, it's tolerance. If I make a decision, now I'm responsible for the decision. If I'm going to call the shots, I got to take the shots. If I don't make any decisions, then if it goes bad, someone else gets the blame, not me. That's
okay. I'm sure we all know this guy. We've all seen this spirit, this indecisive, let someone else make the decisions guy, right? The guy who, this is the one that I see almost every day. It's the guy who avoids conflict. I see that guy in my office every single day. He will not stand for something. He will not stand up to someone, namely his wife or his children or on his job. And y'all are not going to like this, but I'm going to say it. He's doing this under this banner of peace. Because isn't that what you all say? I just want peace. I just want peace. And here is the truth. Sometimes you have to go to war to have peace. You have to stand up for what you believe is right. And when good men do nothing, when they allow bad things to happen and bad people to reign in the name of peace, like that's why things get so bad. Because we need good men, we need strong men. We need men who know how to have healthy conflict when necessary. Conflict is not necessarily a bad thing. It is a necessary evil. And this King Ahab, he was horrible at it, right? The story goes that there was a man who owned a vineyard. His name was Naboth. He owned a vineyard, and Ahab wanted that land. He wanted that vineyard to make his royal garden. But Naboth said, well, this is my family's sacred inheritance. And so, Ahab offers him all this money, or says, oh, I'll give you even more land, or I'll give you even better land, or I'll just pay you all this money. And Naboth says, no. He says, this is my family's inheritance. And in that law, you don't sell or give away your family inheritance. And so what does Ahab do? He runs back to the castle and he throws himself on his bed and he sulks and he doesn't eat. And then Jezebel comes in. What's wrong with you? Why are you acting like this? Naboth wouldn't sell me his land. He wouldn't give me his land. And what does she do? Of her own volition, she devises a plan to have Naboth killed so that her husband can acquire that land. Now, she takes it upon herself to do this. And of course, King Ahab says, okay, I wanted the land, and if that's how we get it, that's how we get it. He knew in his heart of hearts that it was wrong, but he never once in all of this time did he speak up. Did he confront Jezebel? Okay, she had a hold on him. She had a hypnotic, sensual, and sexual hold on him. So there came a time when Ahab did in fact repent, because God had cursed him. God had already put it in motion that Ahab and his descendants, his sons, everyone in his bloodline would be wiped out. But because Ahab repented, God held it off for a matter of years. It still happened, but he held it off for a matter of years because he repented, because he humbled himself before God. Jezebel never humbled herself before God. I find that very interesting. Even on the day of her death by Jehu, she knew that Jehu was coming for her. She went upstairs. She painted her face. She did her hair. And she sat in the window upstairs in the castle. She never once humbled herself. She never once repented. She was thrown down from the window, and her body was almost completely eaten by dogs, by wild dogs. There was nothing left to bury. Okay? That is how haughty the Jezebel spirit is. There is no humbling the Jezebel spirit. Okay? But it is the Ahab spirit, that passive, I hate conflict, I don't want to make decisions, I'm a victim. It's that spirit that allows the Jezebel spirit to grow and prosper and just consume everything. Okay. Manosphere Hall of Fame says Adam was the original simp. Okay. He says people use the equally yoked thing as a qualifier for everything but faith. They really do. I agree with that. They really do. And I don't understand that. Um, okay, yeah, because that's old. Okay. Who is this guy again? I want to hear more of him. Ahab, King Ahab. To me, he was the original simp because he allowed his woman to literally wipe out him and all of his family members, all of his descendants. Once he basically went against God, it was a wrap. But all of this because he had a very passive spirit. He would not rule his kingdom. And even when he knew things were wrong, he wouldn't speak up. He wouldn't stand up. Okay. She says those Ahab men usually have mother wounds. Yep. Yep. Because they love being coddled. They love, a woman mothering them. Right. And we're seeing this spirit in a lot of single mother, headed household men. Right. That's what it is. A lot of men being raised by a single mother only. This is the spirit that they're leaving that home with, is that spirit of Ahab. I don't want conflict. I don't want trouble. Men have come into my office. I don't say anything. I don't want to upset her. I can't stand to see her cry. Like, we need strong men. Period. We need strong men. Okay. They avoid decisions. Person also is often so afraid of failure, makes no effort, frozen. Yep. G43X says, don't do Adam like that. But hey, Adam, like I said, but here's why I'm going to say Adam wasn't the original simp, okay? Because Adam and Eve, they're the first man and the first woman. Like, Adam don't know no better, right? Imagine your first taste. Imagine your first taste of a woman. Like, Adam just don't know no better. But Ahab, come on now. You a grown man. You've been around for a minute. Like, come on. This ain't your first rodeo. It's not your first woman. And you acting like this? Like, come on. So, yes, a lot of men have this Ahab spirit. And I personally believe, whether you agree with this or not, this is just my opinion. I think that's how feminism got a foothold. Is that these Ahab men said, okay, let's let them vote. Let's let them do this and that. Let's see what happens. Or, we could use them working. That's a good thing. That'll create more jobs and more income and more taxes and more, okay, let's see what happens. And now I definitely see it now where the feminist movement is so huge. Like, just like the trans movement, people were afraid to speak up. People were afraid to use common sense to say, if you have male parts, you're not coming in the female bathroom. People were afraid to misgender people. Like, when I tell you all, this is a virus. The Me Too movement, people were afraid. So we need to have strong men. This whole thing never should have got a foothold. The fact that there are class action lawsuits now coming out about transitioning children, like, there are people winning millions of dollars in class action lawsuits that were transitioned at 14, 15, 16. That should have never gotten a foothold. Men should have made laws to protect children and say, not on our watch. I don't care what these women say. This is taking it too far. That has to happen. That has to happen. Okay, October 3074 says, I know a woman who has been ruled by the Jezebel spirit her whole life, and her child, sibling, or anyone will have anything to do with her. She's been estranged for years, but blames everyone. And it's the lack of humility. It's the lack of humility. That's how you know a woman has that spirit. No matter what happens, no matter who leaves, no matter what bad thing happens, she will not humble herself. That's one of the biggest indications of all. When I made that video about women need to atone for their sins, they lost their mind. Like, how dare you? The thought of us, humbling ourselves or admitting the fact that, okay, we might be wrong about this. That's the Jezebel spirit. That's the Jezebel spirit. Okay. Navy Man 4 says, I disagree. Those men are not frozen. They're hiding true intentions of sex only. Either way, they're allowing wickedness to rule. They're allowing wickedness to take over the world. And again, the future is coming. The fact that people are not worried about the next 5 or 10 or 20 years, that's problematic because it's coming. It's coming in one way or another. All right, let's see. I meant the pastor speaking about Ahab. Oh, okay. It's Pastor Mark Driscoll. He has several teachings on the Ahab spirit, the Jezebel spirit, and his YouTube channel, I believe, is Mark Driscoll Ministries. So you can go over there and watch it. There is also, I'm going to link it in the description box below. There is an amazing story, and I think it's like an AI story about this. I'm going to link that in the description box below too. It was fantastic and very sound. I loved, everything about it, and it was very sound biblically, but it tells the entire story from beginning to end. So if you want to know more about this, I want you to check out Pastor Mark Driscoll. And I'm going to link something in the description box below where you can watch that like AI story of Ahab and Jezebel and Elijah, and then the new kings that came on the scene. Elisha came on, and then Jehu, all of them came in once Elijah stepped down. Okay. All right. Navy Man 4 says, you will get stomped if you go against feminism. It usually ends with the word period. Okay. All right. As a man raised by a single mother, I'm so glad I got therapy I never knew I needed. Good for you. Good for you, because I'm going to be honest with you. The best outcomes for children when it comes to, family structure has been proven that it's one man, one woman, mother and father, and their children in a happy, healthy marriage. That is the best outcome that children could get from that structure. The next best outcome is one man, one woman, mother and father. They live separate and apart, but they have equal parenting time with their children. So they may be divorced or never married. They live separate and apart, but the children spend 50% of their time with each parent. That is the next best outcome. Both parents, happy and healthy, in their children's lives, equal parenting time. We tend to believe that the next best outcome is a single mother, single female-headed household. It is not. It is not. And now we're beginning to see the repercussions of that. It isn't. Okay. So I'm a single mother, so I can't refute the data. I got really good outcomes with my children, but I had a lot of people involved in the raising of my children. I had a lot of men involved in the raising of my children. My children's father was involved in the raising of my children. Okay. So, all right. High Vibe says, then there is also the number of women, especially Black women, who are raised by Jezebel women. That's an epidemic unto itself. I agree. The narcissistic mother is a thing. And you know how you can spot the narcissistic mother? She competes with her daughter. She puts men over her daughter. She is still out there, clubbing and not, growing old gracefully. She's not babysitting her grandchildren. She's still flirting with her daughter's boyfriends and husbands. And that is problematic, especially in my generation. I see a lot of Gen X women that it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to watch them post thirst traps or dress like, younger women, dress very provocatively and twerk and all of these things. It's really, really unpleasant. And I don't understand it because I believe that as I've gotten older, I've grown wiser. And there's no part of me that wants to go back to doing that. I feel like, okay, well, I mean, not that I did any of that, but I feel like, okay, I had my time, I had my heyday. And now I've moved into this next season and next chapter of my life. And I'm very proud of this season that I'm in. But I'm telling you, the women who are still out here posting on social media at 50 plus, 45 plus, the women who are still out here partying, the women who are still out here adorning themselves a certain way, those are your Jezebel spirit narcissistic mothers. And, you know, a lot of the younger women, they've even accused me, oh, well, you all, you know, you all are jealous of us. No, baby, I'm not jealous of you, not even in the least. And I'm not your competition. I keep telling them that I'm not your competition. You don't have to worry about me, okay? But I do have wisdom. I do have knowledge. Okay. I do have experience that I'd love to share with you that I think could be really helpful for you. That's it. That's why my whole channel exists. Okay. I want to play one more video by Mark Driscoll.
Household, the question is, are you a good head or a bad head? Ahab is supposed to be the head of his family and their nation.
Okay, why isn't it? Sorry, y'all. There we go. Let's see if it'll let us.
The head, but ultimately Jezebel is the neck. She controls him in every way. What happens is, if you have an Ahab spirit, you don't exercise the dominion and authority that God has given to you. So at home, you're passive. You let your wife take charge, or maybe one of your emotional or controlling children, or maybe your extended family or your in-laws that act like outlaws. You let somebody else dominate, rule your home. Maybe even your wife's friends. In addition, at church, an Ahab allows others to say and do what they want. They don't have the conflict. There's no fight in them. There's no fight in them. And if they have responsibility at work, sometimes an Ahab at work is very passive and permissive. The result is wherever they have responsibility, they abdicate it. They avoid it, and then someone else assumes it and rules. In addition, Ahabs avoid conflict. They do not like you. They don't like being corrected or rebuked. They don't like hard conversations. They don't like being told no. They don't like things being made public that are true. There's no record in Ahab's life of him ever having healthy conflict. Zero in the entire storyline. In addition, his wife is demonic, evil. She falsifies government documents. She murders someone. She steals a piece of land. She closes all the churches. She murders the prophets. She closes the Bible teaching schools. She opposes the man of God, and he never says anything. He is not going to cross her because he knows if you engage, you will enrage. That this woman is like a grenade with a pin pulled, and the last thing you want to do is bump into her, so keep your safe distance. He doesn't do conflict. And he really hates Elijah, and those with the Ahab spirit hate those with the Elijah spirit because Elijah is willing to confront him to his face. You're in sin, you're wrong, you need to repent, God's gonna judge you, your wife is evil, you're horrible, you're a terrible father. I mean, all these things are true. They're all true. And that's why he hates Elijah. Now, Elijah speaks the truth on behalf of God. In the story, as you study, you need to ask this: am I more like Jezebel, controlling, domineering, overbearing, maybe even perverted? Am I more like Ahab, passive, indifferent, tolerating, the nicest guy you ever met that no one follows or respects? Or am I like Elijah, willing to say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done, not to be in control, but because if you don't get in the way of evil, evil never stops itself. If you don't say the truth will never be stated. If you don't fight for what's right, wrong will always win. If you don't get in the middle, then the bad guys hurt women and children. He hates conflict.
All right. I couldn't have said it better myself. And as someone who comes across men like this all the time, and I try to encourage them, like, I need you to stand up. You have to stand up, and it won't be easy. People love the phrase easier said than done. Okay, but I need you to do it. It's not going to be easy. But I want you to feel good as a man, right? You're going to feel good as a man knowing that you stood for something, especially something that's righteous. I say a lot of things. On my channel. And the thing that helps me to sleep at night, the thing that helps me to look at myself in the mirror is knowing that it is righteousness. It's what's right that I am fighting for. I am doing my best to try to get us back on track and to teach women to abandon this Jezebel spirit. It isn't going to end well. Ahab gets killed in a physical conflict in war. His armor gets pierced and he bleeds out in his chariot and dies. And every single one of his descendants is killed. His sons, and they literally scour the land for this man's descendants and kill all of them. And Jezebel is thrown from her window down to the concrete ground and is eaten by wild dogs. The only thing that was left was her skull, her hands, and her feet. There was nothing to bury. Like, that's where this story ends. That's why we cannot have these spirits. These spirits cannot take over our world because of where the story ends. And it was prophesied. Elijah prophesied what was going to happen to the both of them. He told them when they were alive exactly how they would die. And really only Ahab repented, but it was a done deal. Like, he allowed his wife and her wickedness to rule over the land. All God did was he held off. He didn't stop. He held off all those things happening to him. But his fate was sealed. And so that's my concern, is how this all ends if we don't make some changes. Thank you so much, Navy Man 4. He says she is wise and the likes. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right. They are still cowards. They take the deal of short-term easy sex instead of the harder responsibility of finding a wife and maintaining his family. I agree with that. And yet I have empathy, right? I have an empathy and an understanding of why men feel the way they do now. They do feel like defeated. A lot of men have given up. A lot of men feel defeated. And they think it's hopeless. Men tell me that every day. Like, why are you doing this? It's totally hopeless. Okay, thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to continue to talk about this. I'm going to continue to go live. I'm going to continue to make my videos. Because again, I know that's what's happening today. But in 5 years, in 10 years, things could change. And I would love to be a part of that change. I never think about just the present. I am a legacy person. Okay. People maturing as they get older, men and women, many times does not happen. It is believed that most people don't get above the age of 13. That's their emotional maturity level, 13. That's really, really sad. Deep House Nation 9848 says man, woman, and child. And it is God. It is Christ, man, woman, and child. That has been the hierarchy since the beginning of time. The goal is for everyone to be submitted to our Creator. Good things happen when we're doing that. All right. Deep House Nation 9848 says anything with two heads is a monster. Yep. Agreed. Navy Man 4, oh, I see now those men are frozen. I was approaching it from a single man perspective. No, I'm talking about the men who are married. The men who are married, they are not the head of their home. They're not leaders in their home. They're allowing these women, just like Ahab did with Jezebel. They're allowing these women to transition their kids. Like, that is the Ahab spirit, that you are married and you're allowing your wife to transition your son. That's crazy. That is a perfect example. That's a modern day example of Ahab and Jezebel. It is a sickness that has to stop. And men have to stand up. But they are so afraid. They are afraid of inciting the woman's rage or her abstaining from sex from him, like all of these crazy things. It is crazy. And if I'm being honest, I love to catch men before they're married, before they've chosen a woman, to teach them, like, hey, these are the women you don't want to choose. Do not choose these women. Your life will be a living hell if you do. I've had so many men that have come into my practice that say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I had these sessions. I'm glad that I talked with you. There was a woman I was interested in. She showed some of the signs you said, and I aborted the mission. I was like, thank you. Move on to someone else. Okay. Mr. Stu 97, good evening. Saw that you were live and decided to enter the chat. Thank you so much. All right. Navy Man 4 says amen. Whoa, 13. That's scary. Yeah. But that is a perfect Ahab Jezebel dynamic, that you would allow your wife to permit this foolishness. Men have to stand up. I don't know if you heard about the story out of Texas about the father who, I mean, literally, he went bankrupt hiring attorneys because his ex-wife was trying to transition their 6-year-old child. And when I tell you all, I prayed for that man every day. And he started a GoFundMe and people gave him money. It was insane that this ex-wife wanted to transition their 6-year-old son. It was insane, but I had nothing but respect for this man because he fought for his son. He did the right thing. And at the end of the day, if your child is 18, okay, they're an adult. That's a whole different story. But anyone who's ever talked to me about this issue, leave children alone. Leave children alone. That's a hill that I'm willing to die on. The reason why I am a couples therapist is because I want to keep children's families together. I want their moms and dads to be happy, healthy people because it benefits the children. So we have to stand up for something. We have to be willing to sacrifice for something. Okay? And that's something I'm willing to stand up for. But to the gentleman, I want you to make sure that you are not exhibiting the signs of Ahab, because there are a lot of men today who are. Okay? I listed some of the qualities. Number one is the men who don't want conflict. They fear conflict. They fear having hard conversations, right? They are allowing women to disrespect them. They're allowing women to lead and to make all of the decisions. And, you know, they want to be coddled. They want to be mothered, right? Those are Ahab men. And we need strong men. We need men that are willing to stand up, especially for things that are right. Those are the good men. Those are the good men that we women should want. Okay? So I hope this story was helpful. I did not put my ticker up, but I'm going to do it now because you can read this entire story It is in First Kings and Second Kings. Okay, so one of the things that I'm always telling people about the Bible and about Bible study and about Bible teachers and church and all of that, read it for yourself. Okay, you don't have to take my thoughts or my opinions. You can read it for yourself, right? And I'm really big on that. Don't just go to church. Don't just sit in a pew. Don't just listen to the pastor or the preacher and believe everything he's telling you. I want you to go to the Bible. I want you to read it for yourself. I want you to see for yourself this story. Okay? I'm always going to encourage people to do that. Please, please, please read the Bible for yourself. Now, having gone to a Bible college for my master's degree, when I became a licensed professional counselor, I also got a certification in Christian counseling. And so one of the things that we had to do was read the Bible and write papers on it and write papers on various things in the Bible. We had to have a Bible concordance. We had to have a Bible dictionary. So that is what the true study of the Bible is. It says that, okay, I am going to not only just read line for line in the Bible, I want to truly understand it. I want to understand the context, the time, everything that's in the Bible. Okay. So read it for yourself. You are happy. I'm happy to lead you there. First Kings, Second Kings. Okay. All right. I want to put up some of these last comments and then we're going to get out of here. Okay. All right. The dumbing down of men. Yep. That's why I'm here listening to you. Good advice. Thank you so much, Navy Man 4. I appreciate you. He said, are you talking about Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union? Wasn't their son an underage transgender? I wasn't talking about them, but I could have. Ahab, Jezebel. Yeah, I certainly could have. I didn't even think of that. But I'm talking about a gentleman in Texas. And it's really, really sad. Okay. What state was this in? This was in Texas. October 3074 says that mother needs to be in an insane asylum. Yep. She probably did that to spite her ex-husband. I despise a spiteful witch. Yeah. And here is the craziest part of all. A lot of women do this for attention. They will say their children are trans for attention. Attention is a woman's drug. That is a woman's drug. Okay? Is attention and being validated and affirmed. So that is honestly why a lot of women do it. Good evening. Good evening, Rhonda Payne. Thank you for joining. All right. Have single women raised Ahabs? Oh, definitely. They definitely have. They definitely have. We talked about that earlier. Yep. So, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Rhonda. Good evening. So, yeah, we don't want our men to be Ahabs. We don't want our women to be Jezebels. But both of those things are in abundance today. The Jezebel spirit is alive and well. But here is what I want you to remember is how this story ends. That's what you need to know, how the story ends. Very tragically for both of them. So we want to be like Elijah. We want to be brave and courageous. We want to be honorable and righteous. We want to be able to speak the truth in love and be direct, right? That's the goal, right? Asking ourselves, am I like Ahab? Am I like Jezebel? Or am I like Elijah? That's what we want to ask ourselves. Yes, High Vibe. She says a form of Munchausen syndrome. Yeah. It's so weird. I'm telling you, a lot of mothers suffer from this Munchausen syndrome, which is, oh, my kid's trans at 3. Like, it's crazy. Like, this is crazy. When I tell y'all this world is crazy, this world is crazy. So, all right. But I thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I'm going to put the link down to the AI video that I watched. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It was historically correct. It was in its linear form. I loved it. And if you want to know more about this and this story, and that's why I love the Bible, y'all. I love the Bible so much. There are so many amazing stories in the Bible. There's so many things that we can learn from the Bible. And the Bible has prophesied everything that we're seeing today. I don't know how people can refute it. Like everything that we're seeing today is just, it's all been prophesied. Okay, thank you so much. Navy Man 4 says, like the stream, support this channel. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right. She says, Glorious Love, 87% of inmates in both male and female prisons were raised by single women. Yeah. 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 So we gotta tighten up. We got to tighten up. We got to keep our homes and our families together. We have to choose good people to have children with in the first place. And how about this? This is the part that I have been committed to talking about a lot lately is birth control. I don't understand how women fought for birth control and now they won't use it. Like, I want that to make sense in my mind. Like, you wanted this birth control so bad, and yet you won't use it. Make that make sense to me. Like, I used birth control until I was married. Because in my mind, okay, I don't want to have a child out of wedlock, and I'm not ready to have a child at 18. But I use birth control. I don't understand the lack of the use of birth control. And then using abortion as a form of birth control. That's weird to me. You know, maybe I'm an old fogey. I don't know. But yeah, I'm trying to understand what's going on with these new women, because they won't use birth control. They won't use condoms. They won't do the pull-out method. They won't use the foam, the sponge, the IUD, the diaphragm, the pill, like the depot shot. Like, there are lots of forms of birth control. And I just don't understand why women don't use birth control. So I don't know. She said, that's wild, Anita. Okay, God bless all the ladies here listening to her grounded wisdom. We need more wives. Thank you so much, Navy Man 4. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out because the payoff is child support. Y'all, and here's the crazy part. They're having kids by bums. So what child support are you getting? Like, most of the men that they having the kids with don't have no money. So now that would explain why the rappers and the athletes, okay, that I get, right? If you're a rapper, if you're an athlete, if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, okay, I get that. Let's talk about all the women in our community that aren't having babies by men like that. Like, what's the payoff? Because the men don't have anything. So I don't know. October says, oh no, Anita, they'll tell you that they're allergic to it. I used to ask them, you tried all 33 methods of birth control? Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Even if you consistently use a condom and foam, that's supposed to be like 90%. So what's happening? I don't understand. Women purposely got pregnant by different men back in the day. Now women aren't having children at all. It depends on who you ask, because there are a lot of women out here having kids. And then there's some women not choosing to have kids. So I get it. But yeah, at High Vibe, what payoff are the women getting when they could have used birth control but are in an abortion clinic? Yeah, that's the part I don't understand. They're using abortion as birth control. And do you know how traumatizing abortion is? It's very traumatizing. And there's videos on TikTok and Instagram where women have had like 11. You've had 11 abortions. There was a video I watched where the woman said, I got banned from the abortion clinic. I was on a do not allow in here list because she had had so many abortions. That is very problematic. So anyway, thank y'all so much. I'm so glad you showed up. You showed out. I'm glad we had this conversation. I appreciate all of you all's comments. Thank you to everyone who tipped or bought a super sticker, I appreciate you all. I really, really appreciate you all. Okay. This community that we're growing is amazing. And my hope is that more and more women, so if you're my age, if you're older, you are now a good example to the younger women. And if you're younger, you're coming here and you're getting this message and you're getting this information, and you are saying, you know what? Anita might be onto something. I think, I want to make some changes in how I'm doing things. Anita might actually know something, right? And you make some changes and you have a really good life. Okay. Because that's what I want for every woman. I want you to have a wonderful husband. I want you to have some amazing kids. I want you to have a good life, right? I want you to be the girl. I want you to be in that feminine energy, but I need you to choose a healthy masculine man for you to do that. Okay. All right, you all. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. Let me see if I got any more comments. Thank you, High Vibe. I appreciate you. Thank you for rolling through. And we will do this again next Sunday. I hope to have a guest next Sunday. I'm still trying to nail that down. But we will do this again next Sunday. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your Sunday. And as always, stay open to love.